What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Couple Things Interviews.
With Shawn and Andrew. Today, we have the treat of sitting down with Jocelyn and Aaron Freeman. You may know them from their Empowered Couples podcast. They're marriage coaches that have helped over 40,000 people with their marriage workshops. And we had such a fun time sitting down with them in person here in Nashville.
It was a wonderful conversation. We really just talked about everything marriage, how to get through the seasons, the ups and downs, how to be intentional with your marriage and make sure that you are in it for the long haul, and how to get through the long haul in the best possible way.
I could have conversations on this topic until the sun sets.
Same. The hour went by way too fast.
I know. And I learned a lot. I'm glad to be connected to Jocelyn and Aaron. And if you're interested in learning more about what they do, checking out their podcast or their workshops, we'll link that down below. But Jocelyn and Aaron, thank you so much for coming to visit us. And it was also fun. We got to meet their little niece, Cora, who's a gymnast. Shawn was a background of her phone. It was like, I think she cried at one point.
I'll be wishing her the best in the gymnastics world.
It was really special. So anyway, great to meet you, Freemans. Hope you all enjoy this one with Jocelyn and Aaron. Let's get to it. Jocelyn and Aaron Freeman, welcome to the show. It's good to have you.
Thank you so much for having us. We're very excited to talk to you guys.
Our entire team is huge fans of your work, your content. The amount of times we are circulating your stuff through our business is...
That's awesome.
I think we have very similar topics. We love marriage. We love learning about it. We love trying to get better. And we love everything that you guys share. So,
well, and I think we've resonated so much with just your guys' lifestyle as well, too. So we've wanted to be on the show for a little while.
That's great. Yeah. Well, glad to make it happen. Funny side story. We have a friend, Stephen Miller, who they're in the YouTube space as well. But he sent us a screenshot.
Yesterday,
like
2 days ago?
Yeah, he's like, have you guys ever heard of the Freemans?
You should have them on. We're like, they're on their way here.
He messaged us too.
Oh, he did? Yeah. Oh, that's great. You should meet him. He's awesome.
And our followers guessed, and they're like, we can't wait to hear on Couple Things. They listen to you guys. So I think there's a lot of crossover, which is awesome.
Well, thank you for being here.
Yeah.
Welcome to Nashville.
Thank you.
How did you all get into being marriage coaches?
It really started off first with us not knowing how to do marriage, really. And we discovered that actually before we even got engaged. And when we were dating...
Well, certainly I tried to break up with you early on.
He tried to break up with me. That's a funny story. You know, it was really from fear. He was afraid of commitment, afraid of being hurt. He had been hurt in the past. I had just before meeting him started my self-development journey. And so I was like maybe a year or so into working on myself. I finally got to this place of actually loving myself, not needing a relationship for validation, which is how it always was before. I was much more codependent in relationships before. So I was really ready for a healthy relationship. And when I met him, he had not done any self-development, was afraid of commitment, almost breaking up with me. But once he got past that fear, because what I said to him was, that doesn't work for me, when he tried to break up. And, you know, it really...
The funny thing about that is, so I couldn't have told you, if you're like, what do you think you need to hear from this person to feel like you're really committed? I wouldn't have had an answer. It was something about that phrase that subconsciously just clicked to where it was, I don't have to fear being rejected by this person. This person wants to have my back, has my back, I can be safe. And but just to say that doesn't work for me, just hit at such a subconscious level that I'm like, well, obviously I'm back in. So from then on.
Actually, I take back what I said. I'm good. We're good. Yeah.
There was like more for me to work through, I think, because I only had a few relationships, you know, growing up, was on the receiving end of like being cheated on, and they were very short even at that. And so I just didn't feel prepared. You know, it's like, I really want this to work and be successful. And so it was almost like anything, right? Whether it's some sport, something in business, it's like, let me really learn what I need to. That just was obvious to us. If we're going to get married, we got to seek out some real skills that we can practice, we can implement. I could see objectively I can get better here. And that's just really how it all started.
And a lot of it, too, came from us realizing how vastly different our upbringings were. Like, my parents went through a really tumultuous divorce. And then his are still married 5 decades in, never saw conflict growing up, which in some regards is a good thing, but it also meant he didn't know how to have difficult conversations or repair. So it's like we were completely opposite ends and had to be like, okay, but what kind of a marriage do we want to create? Because we don't want to recreate the past and how it was. And we also need to find a way to meet in the middle. So it was about, all right, what do we want to build together and learn how to do that?
There's a million different ways I can go with this. So I'm going to hopefully remember all of them. This has been a topic of conversation between Andrew and I, like, recently where we get so frustrated because we have quite a few friends right now who are in that phase of life where they are desperate to get married. They're looking for their spouse, but they're not desperate enough to actually commit, which is really funny because we've seen over and over again friends of ours find wonderful spouse or like wonderful partners that would make wonderful spouses. But it comes down to, I should feel like I want to get married. And there must be something wrong, or it must not, like, that must not mean, you know, they're the perfect partner. And it causes them to start over and be like, oh, we're looking for something better and something more intriguing. How do you teach that? Because we're even like, just propose. Like, you'll make it work. It's a wonderful person.
I can only imagine being in the dating space now.
Oh my,
like, I mean,
oh
you know,
my
we're married. Our 10-year.
Yeah, I could not imagine.
Our 10-year wedding anniversary
I
is
was just
later
saying
this
this
year.
with my men's group too.
I want to hear
And
that.
we're all like,
I don't want to
No.
date right now.
No.
Because I think
Unsubscribe.
people are so much more like, it's fast. It's in 5 seconds, can I figure out if you're for me or not? And I think people have a lot of more fear around commitment. And it's like fast food dating, you know, it's just like, it's so fast paced. Whereas for us, it was not that way. I mean, there were apps, but it wasn't the culture that there is now. And so, I mean, we don't really focus on that like dating stage, but when people just hear our story, I think we talk about really discovering, like, is it because you aren't actually aligned for each other? Like, there's maybe some concern you have of our values clashing, or can this person really go the long haul with me? Like, do we have the skills? Are we equipped? Or is it really just the unknown and you don't really know, like, what does marriage mean? And I think it's really important to have an empowering view of marriage. You know, like when people use those phrases of, oh, the ball and chain, or I'm losing my commitment. It's like, that is so not what I feel about marriage. It's, to me, such a gift. And of course, we talk a lot about challenges and the hard moments, but I would not want to not be married. I love what marriage provides.
Okay, I just came up with an analogy.
You guys are the same person.
Wait, let's go, Aaron. I love analogies.
Loves analogies. That was weird. I was like, oh my gosh,
His
there's
is
two
about
of
to be
you.
way better than any of mine ever have been.
Let's hear it.
So when you do a backflip on a beam,
Wow.
you can't really wait till you're ready. You have to
No.
just commit
Yeah, you just
and
gotta
then
jump.
trust that you've done the work, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if that really
It was on
landed all
brand.
the way.
It was on brand.
That was on
Yeah.
brand.
Yeah.
Also, a little pun with the landed there.
Yeah,
that
that
was
was
good.
good.
He's on a roll.
But I do think that is like a flaw right now, maybe in society and like how we're teaching people. But I even remember for us, even back in the day when we were 24 getting married, we could have gone through a list of things that were like, I don't know. Like, this isn't perfect, or like, will this work? But we actually made an active decision to be like, there's probably a lot of people we could have gotten married to over the span of our life. But with this person, I'm going to actively try to make it work for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
And I don't think people are doing that right now. They're
It's
literally
like-
trying to
but
find
it
the
takes
perfect
work.
person.
Like, that word
Yeah.
is so important, because I think a lot of people are either not ready for that work, or they don't want to. It's like, oh, I like the honeymoon stage. Like, so I want to just keep repeating the honeymoon stage. And it's like, marriage does take work.
I think if we were to add anything for that stage, you want to get aligned on a vision that the life you want to create with this person is similar. And like we know from psychology too, right? We're not actually attracted to our differences. We're actually attracted to what we have similar, but then we have different personality traits. So that's where you kind of have to navigate like the differences part, and you don't want someone to be exactly the same person, but you like set out to, hey, this is the kind of life we think we want to create, lifestyle, experiences, and does that align? Does that the life that you want to create too? It's like, okay, yes. Then I think you can get to like values. Like, all right, well, then what do we value? You know, it could be about experiences. It could be about family. It could be about adventure. And I think if you land on those things, and then you've got, you know, these mix of personality traits that kind of work well enough, then you just commit. I think to what you're saying, what are we committed to, right? Then you have to be committed to the growth. Because one of the things we've been talking about a lot recently is one of the biggest issues with the kind of fast-paced society, slightly individualistic, the little bit more impulsive, is that we act too much on fleeting feelings and not the consistent commitment. I think that's really to your point, right? It's like if we got the vision and the values together, then we're going to commit, knowing that sometimes I'm not going to feel great. Sometimes I'm going to feel disrespected or controlled or dominated, disconnected. You got to check in. Am I acting from what I'm committed to, or am I acting on this impulse? And I think that's a lot of times where people then go different ways. Like it's just more of impulsive, not based on, oh, we're not aligned on vision or values. It's, I don't feel good right now, so I'm just going to choose to exit.
Yeah, it's such a battle to always fight that though, because you know there's seasons that might last a day or months, you know, and it's like after babies for us was always 4 or 5 months of seasons where you're like, all right, is this a feeling or is this like a real thing that there's like a deep rooted issue, you know? And I think there's for sure maybe a sequence that you could follow to help flush that out of like, okay, what's the best way to navigate around this? We went to counseling, which then kind of gave us a new perspective. We sought counsel from our friends and family, and it's like, okay, what are you doing? As opposed to just having an automatic pull the chute or whatever the next impulsive thing is. It's like, let's at least do the diligence of let's work through these.
I'm glad
steps.
you mentioned the word seasons because we use that term a lot in our content as well. And I think people lose perspective on that. Like they think marriage is supposed to be kind of like just always the same pace or always the same feeling. And I appreciate, because we also in the newborn stage, I mean, your intimacy's not popping, you know, you're not like going on date nights 3 times a week and taking long trips, right? It's a very special and challenging season. But I appreciate those differences. And I mean, our hardest year ever in our marriage was when our daughter was a baby. So this was back in 2020. 2022. She was just a few months old. And not only is the newborn stage a whole transition, we almost lost everything financially in an investment where the guy like totally did not help us at all. I'll just put it lightly, right? I mean, it went really downhill. And lost other investments that we had put into it. Like they all lost at once, right? And I was struggling to heal after birth and things like that. So it was like a perfect storm of all these things. And it was really, really hard. And so I think what I'm getting at is I appreciate those seasons because I think or how we're bonded is really important. You know, like even teams or people who go to the army, like you're going to go through really hard things. And it's about how you handle those as a couple, of whether your bond becomes stronger or weaker. And so anyway, I think for you guys and for all of us, it's like if we can zoom ahead a few decades and look back, we'll be like, wow, aren't we proud of us? Like we worked through that. It was really hard. In a lot of ways it sucked. A lot of people would have pulled the chute and said this is too much, but it's like we're like hand in hand, even more connected, even more, have more respect for each other, I think. That's my context for it, is I think embracing those hard seasons makes the happy ones even more special too. Yeah.
The other interesting thing you mentioned that I find very fascinating is like the male psyche, and digging into the book Anxious Generation, or another one like Fighting Shadows, kind of the unique challenges that men have. I think it's probably more stereotypical for a man to not be ready to commit, even though they're simultaneously fighting this desire to, like you said, I want this so bad. I want it to work so bad, but I'm not ready to commit. And it's like, it's so interesting how men are more drawn to like the isolation, it seems, the shame of whatever context they're coming from, and then trying to like get them to the point where they are ready to commit. And I don't know if that is uniquely male or what, but it does seem to be the trend where it's the man that's like pumping the brakes, and the woman is more ready to pursue.
You're saying that even before they like get engaged?
Yes.
Yeah.
Commitment. In that process. But anyway, I know you guys are predominantly marriage. I just find that fascinating. So I would love, you guys have been hosting marriage workshops for years.
Yeah.
Is it 9 years? Is that right?
Yeah, we're going on, so what, we're in 2020. Yeah, we're going on 9 years. Yeah.
At what point were you like, I'm ready to don the responsibility of being a marriage coach?
I mean, it started off at first more like mission based, right? It was really, we didn't actually set out for it to be a business at first. It was more like we were sharing what we were learning and what we were up to, and people would ask us for advice, and it was more informal.
Yeah.
And then, of course, I think you guys probably have those experiences of where like things just pick up momentum, and it truly felt like a purpose. It was it was just like this moment of like, why didn't I know this all along? That this is what I was supposed to get into, and how passionate I am about just like people and psychology and relationships. And I think even a lot of my upbringing and my parents' divorce like planted this purpose of I'm uniquely positioned to talk about what it's like to have to unlearn a lot of what you see growing up. And then also, becoming a parent now. But we've been doing this work
for you.
Yes, yeah. I think just being able to break
I don't
cycles.
want to say because I love our daughter, so it's for Jocelyn's past and what she went through at around 11 to see the level of that the divorce went through, and now to be a mom yourself. It's just so powerful to see that you've taken up this banner. Like, once again, like, I am not going to let my daughter go through the same things I went through. A lot of her aunts, very similar past too, and she's like, it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, we've been having this conversation. There's something that's really been lit up in her since having our daughter. I still love the work, but it
comes from a different place.
Yeah, my past is pretty easy. Mostly it was. We didn't even talk about conflict. It was just my parents had something, and then they walked away, and the next thing I knew, we were like playing something in the backyard. It's like, oh, I guess everything's fine.
I think for me, and we have done this work even before we had our daughter, so we've always been passionate about marriage, and then having her like 100x the passion. And here's the thing though, I think it's important that kids don't just see couples stay together, right? Which I think is some of what prior generations would do, right? Is like, no, you don't get divorced, we're just sticking it out. But it's equally important that they see love. They see real happiness. And so that's what we've been talking a lot about, is like not only showing them a healthy relationship, but a happy one. And that takes work, and it takes, like, I think of the moments where he and I start getting a little tense, and we could, if we didn't have the skills, get into this huge fight, but I see her watching us. She's literally, I mean, your kids probably, like, they literally pick up on every change in energy, every change in body language. And I'm like, this is a teaching moment. And that's like that commitment that I anchor back to. Like he said, feelings. Oh, what I feel right now is pissed, right? I want to say that thing so bad. But my commitment, I'm more committed to what she's going to learn from this moment, what outcome I want for us at the end of the day. It's challenging.
And then we try to model like the, developmentally appropriate. We try to model repair to her. Let us see, that we hug, we break the physical touch barrier. We do our apology, take responsibility. Then we even sit down with her and kind of talk like, how was that for you? How do you feel? Yeah. So I think that's the the main difference. It's not like, oh, we're just not going to fight so that our kids don't see, and then you don't ever repair with your spouse, and you're just now staying in it, thinking that it's good for the kids when it's not fulfilling for you. Yeah, that's the main thing we've also been kind of culminating on is a marriage needs to be fulfilling for you and good for your kids at the same time. Yeah, a lot of like the parenting stuff, their marriages didn't go that great, but they're just talking about parenting. A lot of marriage books stick to marriage things, love account, repair, and aren't necessarily talking about how do you make sure that it's good both for the kids and still fulfilling for you.
Gosh, it just strikes me and floors me every time I think about this idea that family is simultaneously like the greatest source of the deepest joy and meaning in life, but also I'm sitting in a men's group 2 nights ago, and it's we're all talking about parenting. Some have kids that are 25, and there's this deep wound that all these fathers are talking about they still have with their dads, are grown men like 40, 50 years old, and then how they're trying to navigate these wounds with their kids too. So it's like, gosh, it is worth putting time and thought and money into investing in this, so that I don't think anyone makes it out unscathed from the family situation. But it's like, can you build awareness over these things, and because it is so meaningful, and it provides such a wonderful structure and kind of sandbox from which to go out and explore other things. So
yeah. And there is no perfect family either, right? There's like, they need to see hard days. They're going to learn skills from every lesson. So I always remind myself of like, I'm not trying to show her this picture perfect marriage. I actually
Mhm.
want her to see the work. I want her to see like how do we navigate these real moments that occur in marriage. But yeah, I think all humans have something that they're like, I always laugh about this too. Like, imagine our daughter, we're like so intentional. We're teaching her these things. And then in 20 years, she's in therapy and she's like, my parents were always trying to teach me lessons.
Yeah.
No, it's like,
Yeah.
I
it's
feel
always
like-
something.
yeah,
They're
to
gonna
do
be
with
there
therapy,
for
right?
something.
Kids
Yeah.
can, I mean, we can all internalize things differently.
Yeah.
Do you guys think a lot about your kids and like what they're learning and picking up?
I'm crippled by it.
Are you
That's
crippled?
all I think about
Hmm.
every single day is just like, how is that argument that we had going to affect her? Like, we apologized and we talked to her and I explained it, but did she internalize it differently? Like,
Hmm.
I think about it every second of the day, probably too much.
Okay.
That's probably my therapy that I need. It's like, why do I think about it that much? But I want so desperately to be so intentional with our kids. And I think it's that feeling that a lot of parents have is our generation, more than any ever, it has so much access to all this education now and like awareness of intentionality and like educating kids. And with everything that we go through, I'm like, I need to educate her. I need to tell her about it. I need to like keep myself in check. I need to keep my husband in priority. Oh shoot, we have all this work. And then it gets overwhelming and I'm like, I don't know if I'm doing any of this right. So it's just, I
It
think
is
about
funny
it too
where we
much.
can almost be overly aware. It's like
Right.
sometimes
Oh,
I
yeah.
wish I had less awareness at times where I could be like a little bit more, aloof
Yeah.
but once you're aware, you're aware.
Yeah.
Right.
You can't unknow it, unsee it. And so I think having grace for ourselves is really important too.
Yes.
Like,
Yeah.
we're not going to be perfect ever. So
Yeah.
I invite you to have some grace for yourself.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It is interesting though that I guess a side effect of all the information that we have access to now is it kind of does can create this feeling of, well, I should know this and I did it wrong and thus it's my fault, like if it's on me, right?
Yeah.
For not executing the discipline system that we have with our family well. But I do not suffer from that
As much
overheadiness.
worry.
No.
I'm really big on just kind of the thought that like, the kids are gonna go to therapy at some point for whatever. Like it could be because
My dad was too loving.
Yeah,
He was
whatever.
so
It's like-
nice to me. I don't know how
Why
to.
was he
there's
always
a million
around?
ways.
Yeah.
There's millions of
Yeah.
ways
There
to
was
mess
actually
it up.
a reel making fun of that. I was like a kid, like my dad like hugged me every day and he
Yeah.
asked me how I was doing.
He
and
showed
like,
up at every event I was ever at.
Yeah. And it was
Yeah.
just like, making fun of like, we're
Yes.
gonna
We all
internalize
do.
something
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
we can't control it. So you don't worry about it as much, but are you still motivated by the fact that your kids are watching and learning?
One, I'm really grateful for our team dynamics. She'll
Mhm.
usually like do all the research. She's like, I learned this, that, and the other. And then I'm like, all right, sweet, I'll take this, I'll ditch that. And then like we talk about this and we've created a really nice kind of operating system for the family. But then I'm also really big on like the culture of what makes an East, right? And it's like, we're going to do this really well. We're going to and we know that comes at the cost of X, Y, and Z, but it's worth the cost. It's like, you're not going to do it perfectly. So at least do something all in.
I
kind of the thought.
I would challenge that a little bit as your wife.
I would only
That-
expect this on the podcast.
I would only
I love
expect it.
This is us. We're a mirror.
That I don't think he thinks he's as obsessed with it as I am. But the amount of intentionality you put towards teaching our kids character and values and like traditions and stuff is like this forethought that you have of like being intentional. You're thinking about it all the time.
Maybe
Right.
other aspects of
Yeah.
like, it's like you guys are well-rounded. What you think about.
She thinks more like the meta high level. We need to be doing X, Y, Z. And I'm like, let's talk about the fundamentals.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I think it's awesome.
Makes total sense.
Yeah.
Makes total
How do you
sense.
guys navigate that?
Well, I mean, I think we each are conscientious of, I think we really align on the same kind of character and values we want to model for her. For example, really
I have a
teaching
good
her.
example.
Oh yeah, you got one? Go ahead.
Let's go.
This is probably the best thing I can think of right now. She, she's 3.
Mm-hmm.
So she would have the bigger feelings and she'd be expressing them and she would want space, but
Mhm.
she would maybe like start pushing me away. And so we just started to tell her like, hey, if you just need space, just tell us.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe I can say this was part because she observes us, because I think we would use that language. It didn't take long till she started saying, Daddy or Mommy, I just need space.
Mm.
I was like, wow, no problem. Great.
Yeah.
Thanks for asking. I'll give you space.
I think
Yeah.
we
was so-
really
I loved
value,
it.
one of the things we really align on it from just things we've learned is just being able to label our feelings, being able to ask for what we want and need. Like that's one thing we say to each other, right? That's what assertiveness is, right? Is being able to express how you feel and what you need instead of making each like what I used to do in relationships was like, well, I hope they pick up on my huffs and my puffs and my body language that I'm upset. I hope they pick up the memo. And it's like, no, okay, healthy communication. Let's be assertive and ask for what we want. And same thing with her. We'll say, hey, what do you need or want right now? You tell us. We'll honor that as long as it's nothing extreme or unsafe, right?
One thing I'm interested for you guys too is how much do you feel like you balance play well? Because I feel like, I'm very structured. I'm very intentional too. I even feel like my own work, part of my inner child really wants to just have fun and be so just out with people and playful. But something in me over all my years has kind of even diminished that within myself. So I'm like not like the most playful dad, and I'm really trying to.
I would challenge you too, like she did.
Okay.
I think you're incredible. I smile watching you guys. I feel like, honestly, I know this is cheesy, but like having our daughter made me fall more in love with him because it brought out more of that playful side. And
more
like
for sure.
cracked your heart open. Being a girl dad, like just cracked his heart open.
Yeah, I love
and
it.
so I see your playful side all the time. I think you're really good at setting aside kind of the logical brain or like action oriented. That's one thing we also, maybe you guys also have to think of this as entrepreneurs is, all right, when are we in family mode versus like not, trying to be on our devices or working. Obviously still always a work in progress, but that's something we want to teach her, being present in the moment. So I don't know that there's so much a balance as in we just ongoingly debrief. In our work with couples, not all of them are parents, but I'd say like 95% tend to be because we are. So we attract people who are. And parenting can be a big source of conflict, right? Whether they don't align on discipline philosophies or they think they don't. When they do, they just haven't like honed in the skills, right? Like maybe one struggles to regulate their emotions. And so they are like, they want to implement the parenting philosophy, but they struggle with getting frustrated. But regardless, they think they don't align on parenting or they disagree on it. And so what happens a lot is they'll coach each other in the moment, and that feels even more triggering, right? It's like, you're not doing, am I giving advice now?
No, I love it. We need all of this.
No, I don't even, this is a new concept.
Oh, really? Yeah, okay.
Giving each other advice in the moment, or like even getting, upset at the parent, like don't talk to them that way or don't raise your voice. Whereas we, of course, if anything went beyond a certain limit, one of us might step in and be like, hey, let me take over.
For times of conflict.
But we debrief. We really trust each other. And it's like, of course, we're within limits here. But all right, you're getting a little frustrated. I don't want to intervene right now. I want to really show up as being on the same team. We don't want to dysregulate each other further because that could happen. And so we debrief after. Hey, do we think we could have done better? And having that same team mindset. We're on the same team. We really do align on how we want to raise our children. At least 99% we're aligned. And we didn't handle that perfectly. How could we be better? Because we're on the same team. We both want to be better. We're not, attacking each other. So that same team mindset is crucial.
I think it's great. I think it took us 4 years of parenting for me to start any of these debriefing things with the realization that like, oh my gosh, we really are on the same page with so many things. And how much of a blessing is that? You know, it's like, and then we have these issues that might come up weekly or something. Not really that often with the millions of moments that happen every day that we need to sort through. But like overall, we're pretty aligned.
I think the hard part that we've been trying to figure out more recently is we've been doing the parenting thing for 6 years. And with each kid, we've gotten to learn more. And we've gotten better at regulating everything and like teaching and the education and the intentionality and like, how do you deal with these? And I feel like our daughter got the hardest of it because we were new and didn't understand. And then our second got a little bit better. And then our third a little bit better. But like the hard part for us is having 3 drastically different phases of kids happening at the same time and being as intentional as possible with each one. Trying to put our almost 6-year-old to bed at a 6-year-old developmentally appropriate level, and then jumping over to a 3-year-old who's screaming, crying for another bar, and having to like go down to his level a little bit. But then the baby starts crying, and trying to like respect all of those and respect each other at the same time is really difficult. It's like you're wearing 5 different hats all at once.
And you guys aren't overachievers or anything. So like
We're
you're
not
not like you don't excel for like perfection or anything. So
I excel for perfection. I need perfection.
Do you have grace for yourselves and each other?
No. For myself, never. For us, yes.
No grace for anybody, right?
That's something that I always work on. Like I will remember every moment in my life with my kids of like that something that I did wrong.
Yeah.
But it's okay. I'm working on it.
Yeah.
I did not know that about nighttime. That's how you're approaching it. To me, I'm just like wrestle kids. That's how
I know.
That's the definition of women and men.
Wrestle them, get them as stimulated as possible, and be like, oh, well, it's time to go to bed now.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's interesting you talking about playfulness with the kids. I found it easier to play with other people's, like when we have friends over, it's like I'm more prone to be in the playful mood than I am with our kids because I'm always like, I need to be a father to them.
Oh,
you
really?
know?
Yeah.
So I guess I do resonate with when you say that. You know?
You play with our kids better than I can play with our kids.
Yeah, but I still think I get like more playful with when the friends are over, you know?
I have a very hard time playing.
Why do you think that is?
I'm an only child.
So we were going to ask you something.
Oh, yes.
Because we think our daughter will likely be an only child. Like our vision, we never envisioned ourselves like having a big family. In fact, he didn't even know for really if he wanted kids at all. And I knew that when we were dating.
Yeah.
Well, we're going also way back to the future. I didn't think I was going to get married. I didn't think I was even ever going to have sex with anyone, let alone have kids. I mean, my past was like, I guess I'm on my own.
He had a book when we were dating that said it was
we
titled.
We still have it just for.
We kept it as a keepsake. It's called Redeeming Singlehood. And it was all about singleness. Okay.
Because I was just putting it away actually.
Yeah. And so he legitimately thought he was going to be single for his life and not a father. And we eventually just got to this place where we were 7 years into marriage almost. And we were like, I feel like we're ready for like the next chapter. I feel something, that we're ready for. But why would we'd never envisioned a big family. Think she probably will be an only child. People obviously all the time are like, she needs a sibling. How do you feel about being an only
absolutely loved my childhood. I would not change it. My parents were my best friends. I did everything with them. They're at our house every single day. They moved across the country for us. They traveled. I mean, it was us 3. So I wouldn't change that at all. I think it does say something that now as an adult, I want a big family.
Yeah.
Because the only thing that I noticed as an adult is a lot of my close friends had such strong bonds that never went away with siblings.
Interesting.
But like my friendships would move across the country or go back to their families. And so that was something that I saw with Andrew that I aspired to have. But my parents also aren't super close with their families. So like I never saw that dynamic.
Yeah.
But going back to like the playing thing, being an only child was wonderful. I truly don't feel like I was missing out on anything as a kid, but I was always in the company of adults.
True, yeah.
So I didn't have that like carefree, free to be messy, go play with the kids lifestyle because I was always with adults.
Yeah.
Which is great.
Yeah. But it's just different.
It's just different. So like now seeing all these kids that are like stomping in mud together and like doing all, I was like, I didn't have that childhood. That was not I was like coloring with adults at the like adult table.
Yeah.
So now seeing that with our kids, our daughter has the most tendency to be like the only child style because she was an only child for a while, but learning how to like
play
me
together.
to play with them.
Yeah. Oh, interesting. I see the connection then. Okay. So
like,
because you played so much alone.
I can like meticulously play in an organized fashion,
but not
like an adult. But I don't know how to play. Like truly be a young child play.
Okay.
Like just to imagine things and like go on adventures and make up.
Not really, because I was never in such a group setting where it was more childlike than it was adult-like. So everything was kind of always adult-ish.
Yeah.
To me.
Childhood was wild. I mean, you think about your peer group, even when you were with other kids, is like high achieving gymnasts.
Yes.
You know, turned pro at 12.
Yeah.
In gymnastics. That's not a normal child.
It's not a normal childhood.
Yeah.
But
It's,
so that's it. Probably instilled.
Was it Because like gymnastics to me is really like such a playful and artistic thing, but the competition part of it, I would imagine, would be very serious. So did you feel like it was just very serious, even though you enjoyed it? So
No, it was very fun. It's just, I feel like because of the settings I was in, it was always very organized.
Okay.
In every category of the sense.
Yeah.
So like in gymnastics, I was a kid and I would play. That's kind of where I found my childhood, was like in the gym, because I was with other kids. But even in gymnastics, it's very like type A, you have to follow the rules so you don't get hurt. You like, you do all these things. It was not this like carefree wildness.
Yeah.
It's way different than us opening the back door. The kids run out, they go dig holes or
Very
whatever,
different.
find bugs.
So I'm still learning that.
Yeah.
And my perfectionist side gets caught up in like, I didn't give that to my daughter. I gave it a little bit more to our second. Now I'm giving it the most to our third. So like trying to figure that out.
Now that you have a child, 3-year-old daughter, what would you tell yourselves when you were in the peak mode of, I don't think we're going to have kids?
You know, I mean, I think I really appreciate that we were married so long before we had our daughter. I think in some sense, some people like almost feel like an urgency, like, no, 2 years in, like, let's have kids. And of course, people have this whole clock, right? That I feel is less and less true. I was just shy of being a geriatric mother, like, you know, in the hospital, geriatric, right? I was just shy, high risk pregnancy.
I feel like they need to redo the data on that, because like the average human is so much healthier now than when they did those studies.
Right. Yeah, it definitely
At
needs
least
to change.
using the biological age now,
Yeah.
right? Not, what's your age? Your chronological age? Oh, you're geriatric. It's like,
No.
Right.
you haven't even done
I'm probably
one
healthier than a
test.
20-some-year-old having a kid. Yeah, keep going.
Yeah.
And so I think I am glad we had our years of just traveling and growing up a lot together. I feel like we really welcomed her on this super solid foundation. Like, we had been through several hard seasons already, so we saw how we handled them. We had, we just grew up so much together. And so I'm really glad at the timing that we did. And I'm also like, wow, what did I do with time? We all wonder, right? As like, what did I do with that time? I just really appreciate going back to that word seasons. I appreciate that season. I look at pictures. I'm like, oh, we were such babies, and you know what, the life we had. And I appreciate this season now. And I love that life is about experiencing different things. And then when we're much older, we're looking back and being like, wow, we experienced so much together. What would you say to yourself? I'm not
Similar.
gonna
I
have
think I
kids.
just want to give myself some reassurance that, dude, it's like going to be a lot of fun. And you're also going to be a good dad, you know, and just to know that everything that I focus on myself, like, that's going to, you know, make a difference for her. And mostly just reassurance. Like, you're going to be able to do this. You're going to be able to do it well. It's going to be funner than you think. And it's just going to be challenging too. And that's, you know, that's really where we've gotten for our marriage in the past couple of years, is that this is an evolution, like everything else in life. And there are these seasons, and it's just really about your own growth. And then you get to grow with a partner, and then you get to translate that growth to a human being. And I think if I could just really give myself that, like, just understand the evolution that all of it is, of your soul, of the life that we're living, of your own personal development, that it's just another one. And that would probably have me feel like I could really step into it, I think.
I think just to add one thing is, like, I think couples a lot of times in their language will be like, I want to go back to how it was in our marriage, right? Whether they mean early in their relationship or before they had kids. Not that they don't want their kids, but how their marriage was. And the sobering truth is, like, you can't go back, and nor are you meant to. That's just like, to Aaron's point, like, life is an evolution. And so I think anyone who's listening who's like, oh, we had so much fun, you know, in the first few years, it's like, okay, but you're not there. So how can you be connected and fulfilled and embrace this season of marriage now? Because we all know that what you resist persists. So it's embrace, okay, we're in the chaotic stage right now. We are raising human beings. We're gonna have to connect differently, but let's embrace it. Let's not compare or wish we were somewhere else. In this season, what will make us be connected? Have us feel connected? In the season, what does our relationship need? I just think it's really important to embrace where we're at right now.
Yeah. I think a big part of that is what you said earlier about just being present.
Yeah.
And it's like, all right, you can think about the past all day long. You can think about the future fears that you may have, but what if you were just like right here, you know? And the bottle was spilled this morning. This morning we had a kid poop on the kitchen.
Oh, yes. Hilarious. Yeah.
I didn't put a diaper on.
He's like, he comes and hands me our 1-year-old this morning. And it looked like his onesie was on, but it also looked like it was dangling. And I like grabbed it. I was like, oh, we're diaperless. Great.
Yeah.
Little baby butts, which are the best.
Yes.
And he's like, I just feel like he needs to like air out a little bit. He's always in a diaper. And I was like, okay. And literally a minute later, he poops on the kitchen floor.
And does it make you laugh?
It makes me laugh. She's stressed. She's
Okay.
like,
I didn't get stressed.
No, you did a great job.
Thank you. I've been working on it.
This is a fun thing where I'm so glad we have this athletic background where it's like a very tangible application of the idea of like challenge leads to reward. It's like the workouts, the practices, all like the blood, sweat, and tears you put into it. It's like it will turn into something great. And I think we've gotten a lot of reps at that. And anyway, it's taken reps at parenting to realize like, wow, this does lead to something really great.
Yes.
I also think having the awareness, because I keep having this question in my mind, but it's like having this awareness of what is your flaw that you always need to be constantly working on. Mine's like the perfectionism. And I came from such a controlled life, and not in a bad way, but like gymnastics and professional athletics and like perfectionism, that's what I have to fight every single day to not like lose my temper or lose my frustration just because something doesn't go exactly how I pictured it.
Yep.
But my question that I keep thinking of is,
what are our flaws?
Well, I would love to know that.
To share our flaws.
But it's like psychologically speaking, I'm thinking of like friends who are still looking for a spouse and friends who have turbulent marriages. And is the psychological part in someone's mind that's like, how do I even voice it? Is everyone capable of change, or do you actively have to have a different wiring that makes you the type of person that can endure a marriage and endure the seasons? Is that something you're given at birth that you just have to tap into, or can you truly change your makeup?
I think it's such a great question too. I think it's always possible for people. And the reason I say that, however, people think that sometimes it takes an external event.
Yeah.
So when you see something tragic happen with someone,
the paradigm will shift really fast. So that means to me that the ability, right, like the neuroplasticity, it could have changed. I think the point is, I don't know, is someone going to have the inherent desire and awareness to make that happen on their own? Or for some, is it going to require that external? So I think the capability is there. Now, to your point, like, you know, my soul came here to learn some lessons, some particular growth things. And so maybe for some, I don't know, maybe that's in the plan. Maybe what you were choosing to learn through in this life was going to take you to that. It was going to have to be external. So I don't know, but yeah, to answer your question, I think it's always possible, but it's like then it comes down to the question of like the choice. Is it going to be from actual choice, or is it going to be from this paradigm shifting external kind of grief or trauma?
I agree with all that. And I think too, it's also people's context around change. You know, some people who have a perspective of, oh, if my partner is saying there's things I need to work on, that means I'm not good enough, right? Or it triggers shame, rather than the context that we have is that, yeah, we're here to evolve, that growth isn't a part of life, and that we all have things that we can improve. So we have an empowering context around it. And I think to your point, what we talk a lot about is there's definitely a large threshold of what we're capable of changing, like in particular with our patterns, right? How I engage in conflict, which I learned from growing up, was a learned behavior. It's not who I am, right? Raising my voice and cussing is not Jocelyn. That's a pattern. And now that I'm aware of what I value and what my commitment is, oh, that's a pattern I don't want to carry forward. So this was us early in the marriage. Okay, So that's something I want to actively change. And that's through repetition, right? And being able to do that work in the present moment of regulating ourselves. And so there's all that, those patterns we can choose to change. And then there's this part of acceptance that we need to have in a relationship too. I was thinking about this morning of how I'm really grateful that Aaron accepts me. I'm an assertive woman. Like I wasn't necessarily when I was younger, right?
I also need that though.
Yeah, I was.
Sorry, I'm
go
not
ahead. Yeah.
I was saying to our men's group too the other day that just without her, I just really wouldn't have done much with my life. It would have just been very average. Sort of how I grew up, Midwest, get a job. I had an engineering degree, working as an engineer, and I could have just literally seen that would have been my life. Until I had someone
a fire starter.
Yeah.
I think it took her seeing that there was like other potential. And then once, it actually goes to your question too. I'm just realizing this. She introduced me to personal development. And then I went to, it wasn't like I went to her, you be my personal development.
No, I'm not your coach.
She introduced me to it. And then over there, something was like rebirthed in me. And then I learned, like I loved public speaking after that. I'm like, that's the person that I am. So then I almost became like this different person. But I could, without you, I could have easily seen myself as just.
But there's these things to accept. Like, so
nothing.
for, oh, you would have. But thank you.
Just very average.
We really inspire each other, like motivate each other in different ways. But I think to the assertiveness point is like, I was self-conscious, really self-conscious when I was younger. So I didn't totally have my voice. But once I found my voice, this was in my 20s, there was even a partner before Aaron that I thought he was like, oh, this is like the person. Because he had a lot of the traits, right? Oh, like smart, successful, funny, the attractive, like those traits. But he didn't accept me fully for who I was. He would resist my assertiveness, right? He'd like, and I'm not saying I'm assertive as in I'm aggressive. It's just like I'm a vocal person. I ask for what I want and I need, right? And I'm open to hard, difficult conversations. And he would always resist that and be like, can you be less of that? Like, be more like funny and or like lighthearted. And I'm like, I'm a thoughtful person. I would want to have these deep conversations. Like, can't you just be lighthearted? So it really occurred to me in that time of how all these traits can sometimes like overshadow or we lose sight of that we need to accept some of those quirks, those differences. Like no matter how much self-development, like I'm not going to become like dainty, you know, like I'm not going to lose my voice. And then with him, one thing to accept, this isn't going to be news for you. Extreme orderliness.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
That's me.
Loves orderliness. I mean, his eyes, I can see it when it goes to something out of place. And, you know, he will, a lot of times he just takes it on himself, right? Like he'll do it, but he'll vocalize it from time to time, like, why isn't this here or there? Or this doesn't make sense to put here. And I just have grace for that. Like I could fight that. I could be like, why do you have to, you know, control that? Or why you so this? It's like, that's a quirk I accept about him because I don't want to fight over it. That's who he is. It gives him peace. So it's not a flaw, it's a quirk. You know?
Let me just give we came up with an acronym for this too. So for the listeners, p.s.a, like public service announcement. We believe in this marriage realm, you need to first focus on your own perception. Then with that perception, I can self-inquire, what are the skills? So S is skills. So are they conflict skills, communication skills? There's something I can probably do better in my behavior. If I'm doing both of those things, P and S, then I get to the A. Now I can ask for the acceptance of my personal differences, personality traits. But we do see couples too early try to just ask for, this is who I am, accept me.
I scream at you during conflict, accept this about me.
No responsibility for how you're interpreting this event, being perception, and you haven't tried to change your behavior at all. So you have no new skills. You're not in the position yet to say, this is who I am, accept me for who I am. It's like, no, you need some P and S, and then you can get some A.
I like it.
I like that.
Okay, so empowered couples.
Yeah.
It's kind of the North Star of a lot of your work. What is an empowered couple? What's the finish line? What does that look like?
I think it's everything we've been talking about, right? Even that p.s.a, it's like about having that self-awareness. It's two people who have that aligned vision, aligned values, the life they want to build together, and then saying, who do we need to become in order to fulfill that? And it's actually an ongoing process. There's no arrival. That's why we tell couples all the time when they do this work. It's like, by the way, no matter, you could be in therapy 5 years straight and you're still going to be human. So you're not looking for some place where you suddenly have nothing to ever work on as a couple, but we're building something together. We both want to become the best versions of ourselves with the grace and the acceptance sprinkled on top, right? So that's how I would define it. What would you say?
This might be very applicable to all of us here. With all that, you get to the end. I've always wondered about this, like personal development. And sometimes I think to myself, I do not want to grow anymore. I'm tired. I don't want to grow. It's too much, right? So it's almost like a seriousness or kind of like you were talking about, like there can be too much focus on it. And we do end up seeing that with couples sometimes that we'll be coaching them and they need to progress in certain things. But for certain couples, we realize you kind of need to take a couple weeks off. Like you need to fill the love account. This needs to feel less significant. You need to get some joy, some grace, some fun in there. And then we can get back to the journey, the progress, right? The personal development. So that's one thing for me to always remember, since we were talking about play already. I really want to make sure that we're prioritizing the joy, the experience, and it's not always then about be better, be better.
You mentioned self-development, personal growth several times. What does someone who engages in that game look like versus someone who doesn't play the game or go on the journey of self-development?
I mean, I think it's ultimately that willingness to look in the mirror, right? There's two ways to live life. We can either look at every situation and frustration, like in your marriage, those arguments, and just be like, it's you. I wouldn't have done this if you didn't this. And it's because you disagree with me on this. It's always external. Versus a person who goes into marriage with the mindset of every situation, challenge, anything that we encounter, what is my part in this? Those are two totally different types of people to be with. And and when both partners have that outlook, what couldn't you overcome? Now, is it unfair if only one of us is doing that? Of course. It'd be like if I was always the one like looking in the mirror, oh, here's my part, and he was always like, I'm glad you figured that out because yeah, it's you. I'd get exhausted at some point. I'd get burned out. But when both partners are willing to say, okay, what's my part in this situation? How could I be better? How do we trigger each other or, just reinforce these certain patterns? You can just overcome anything. And so in terms of how it looks, it's that willingness to look in the mirror and then having the methods and the means for it, whether people like to see a therapist, a coach, read books, listen to podcasts, go to retreats, like all the methods can be different, but it's just that ongoing mindset of who I'm becoming and balanced with the fun, the acceptance. Like it's really that balance because it can be all work and no play. And then that feels heavy. Yeah.
Shawn, it seemed like your friends have really been on your heart today, those that, want to find their partner or have not. So I think that kind of brings us back to your original question, like, how do you know when to just commit? I think that's probably the last thing to really look for. Does this partner have that kind of mentality where they're going to be willing to look in the mirror? Then I think that's probably the last piece for you to say, all right, the beam is there. Now just commit to your backflip.
Oh, I love that. Good. I love that. And I always think about our friends because we love marriage so much.
Yeah.
And
what do you love most about it?
I love having a best friend to do life with. Yeah. And it's not pretty always, and it's not easy, but you see all these people searching for, they're like, I just want what you have. And it's like, well, if you saw it every single day, you would probably say no. Like,
and it took us 13 years to get here,
And people are in this like endless pursuit of, I just have to find that person. It's like, no, you make that.
Yes.
You make that.
That's exactly it.
You actively choose one day to say, this is the person, and we're going to figure it out. And it's through figuring it out that you find love greater than anything you'll ever find on like day one.
Yeah. I'll have to send you, since you like research as well. Maybe you will learn it, maybe not. But
I'll learn it through him.
One of the interesting, one of my favorite papers that I've read in our studies, it's one of the largest meta-analysis papers on marriage. And they found that there was marriage dissatisfaction peaked at year 10. In other words, people were the least happy about your 10. So was this the hardest year for you guys?
No, we're at
Or
This
just-
is
9.
9. We got next year.
No,
We got-
but you've been together more than 10 years.
We've
Oh,
been
yeah,
together.
yeah.
Oh,
We went-
it
Oh,
would have
yeah,
been
yeah.
10 years.
Okay.
So you would have maybe
It's
had
about
your hard
right.
season. So
I
you
think
got
that's right.
through.
It's about right.
But it also showed that if once you get past that hump,
Yeah,
you're likely to stay together. So
We
good
did-
job. You made
did
it
it.
past those challenges.
we did it.
Yeah. I think marriage is so profound, for lack of a better word. It really is. There's all these side effect benefits, like the derivative benefits you get. I was just reading the other day about the fatherhood wage premium, where
Mhm.
fathers make more money than men who are not fathers. It's like, okay, that's interesting.
Yeah.
And then it kind of gets you thinking about the family situation. I personally benefited so much from the family structure, and like I'm best friends with my brothers. There's something about the security and the identity that then leads you to have confidence to go achieve anything, or like find your place in the world in some sense. I think I love watching like the motivational videos on YouTube and all this stuff, which is so cheesy, but it's all about wake up at 4 a.m. and do the hard things, like David Goggins stuff.
yeah.
Take an ice bath because it sucks. You know, it's like
Get in beast mode.
yeah,
Yeah.
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 And it's like go through the hard thing. It's like everyone's missing
Mhm.
the hardness, the difficulties, and the challenges of marriage, which is like so much more constant and so much more unpredictable, and takes you so much more outside your comfort zone. Because it's like at some point we're gonna have the same conversation we've had about this parenting issue for the 700th time.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And it's going to be us button heads. And then maybe at some point I'll realize, holy crap, I could maybe address this a little differently, you know, as opposed to doing it like I have the last 700 times.
Yeah.
What if I
Same.
freaking changed?
Mhm.
And then you're like, holy smokes,
Mhm.
that's incredible.
And you
right?
can also laugh at the moment too of like, I mean, there's times where we'll have like a moment and it feels reminiscent to recent moments. And I will sometimes like giggle because I'm like, isn't this just funny being human?
Mm-hmm.
You know, there is no
Yeah.
arrival. It's like, aren't we so funny? But we're at least doing it together. Like you
Right.
said, it's like, I wouldn't want to do this with anyone else.
Mm-hmm.
Even though we go through hard days, it's like having that best friend. I wouldn't want to go through these happy moments and hard moments with anyone else.
Right. Yeah, and
Yeah.
in the world of AI, where it's you can have all of the greatest knowledge or the most incredible entertainment online and not have to interact with any human, right? That's kind of
Yeah.
the dystopian interpretation of that. It's like having someone there by your side to be a witness to and be weird with and like
Yeah.
do all that stuff with is really this. It's an incredible thing that you can't really access in
Mhm.
any other way. But anyway, y'all host the workshops.
Yeah.
What does an individual who shows up to those workshop typically look like, and what are they looking for? What could they expect to
And
gain?
where can you find the next one
Yeah.
for anybody
yeah.
listening?
So all of our resources are at meetthefreemans.com.
Wonderful.
You'll see our workshops, books, web classes, challenges, everything. We've had over 40,000 couples do our 30-day couples challenges
That's
around
awesome.
the world. So those are popular. But I think our workshops, which are in-person events, and we absolutely love. Some couples come before they're even married to the last workshop. Was it 50 something years they were married?
No, they were 34.
Wow, I'm
I
way
think.
off.
Mm,
Okay.
Wow.
That was another couple we coached.
Yeah.
But yes,
Yeah.
into the multi-decades. So across the range, but the main thing they want to work on is communication.
Mm.
You know, they really want to. And even the couple that was married 3 decades was like, it's still a work in progress. And it
Mhm.
goes to show you, again, there's no arrival. You're not suddenly like, oh, we're perfect and we have
Mhm.
it all figured out. So communication is a big thing they want to focus on. And there's a lot to that, but we love the
Mhm.
workshops.
Wow.
Yeah.
Is your work or methodology based on any like philosophical foundation, or is like religious background in some sense? Or
We keep ours very skills based
Mhm.
because we have people who come to us
Mhm.
of all faiths. And I had a totally different religious upbringing that I've had to kind of work through my own trauma religiously. His grew up very Christian, and we're Christians ourselves, but we keep our work very skills based to
Yeah.
apply to everyone. Mhm.
Interesting.
Yeah.
We're big on as athletes. I
Yeah.
love the rhythm, routine, the practices. What do you think, or what? Let me just ask. Rhythms do you all have on a weekly basis that helps with the communication side of things, since that's such a tough
Yeah.
issue?
Definitely having a weekly check-in. So for couples who are like newer into doing the work, we give them a specific structure. We call it a weekly family meeting. And it's 5 questions that they go through. I'm happy to share those. Now for us, because we're 10 years into it, it's more like we're able to do it while we're doing stuff, right? We're like cooking. And one of the first questions you ask is about where's your love account at on a scale of 0 to 10, which is, we call it the love account to think like a bank account, right? And just like money, it's a sum of your deposits versus your withdrawals. So we check in. And so that helps us be able to catch it when we're at like a 7 instead of a 2. So it's like, hey, I'm at a 7. Okay, all right. What can I do to help raise that score this week? Which it could look different this week than it did last week.
And one quick side note, same events can be happening, but it's very relative to where your love account is at. So if your baby poops on the kitchen floor and your love account is at a 9, you naturally offer the grace. If your love account is at a 1, you're just going to be much more reactive. There's going to be less tolerance. And it's not from the events. It really is from where your love account is at.
Yeah. So that we check in on the love account. We also make sure we talk about like logistics, right? It'd be a time to be like, what's ahead? What are the priorities this week? So there's like both the emotional check-in as well as the logistics check-in. So that for us is huge, and it can be.
And we also ask.
Yeah.
So you have to be ready for the conversation. It's not one just to have in passing, because then you also do ask, was there anything that you felt was not repaired from the last week? So we don't want to be carrying things into, we don't even want to carry things from one day to the next, really. But, sometimes you need some time to process. But we really want couples to feel like their past is really in their past, because that will also lead to like landmines and emotional triggers that when things are not resolved for you, it can be unrelated, but that emotion, as you know, like emotion is what brings up memory. So it can be unrelated, but if you're having the emotion of anger, it's going to bring up memories of other times you're angry. So if that's unresolved, that's why these things get kind of complex. Like,
where'd this come from?
Yeah, like all I did was forget to wash that dish, and like, why are we now talking about the past? And this seems like way bigger than that. So we just want to make sure that couples are able to say, hey, you know what? We're in this space. It's intentional. Was there anything for you that was unrepaired from this past week? So I want to be able to address that. And we have a repair process too. But let's make sure we're repairing these so that we're relieving our backpack, if you will. We're emptying the backpack out and not carrying our backpack forward of like resentment to the next week, the next month, the next year.
Yeah. I think just so check in, because so often a week we all know flies by so fast. But if that compounds and you haven't really checked in weeks or months, it really does pile up quickly, right? Your love account can be really depleted. You didn't realize it, or the thing's unrepaired, and it feels so big when it stacks up, rather than if you're just addressing it like little by little every week, and you're getting on the same page about logistics too, because then you don't have to argue. I didn't know you were going to that on Wednesday. Wait, you didn't tell me. So it covers all the bases: the emotional check-in, the logistical check-in, making sure you're not carrying things forward.
Because then you throw 3 kids in it, and it's like, man, there's a lot, so we got to at least do our work because, kids are going to be bringing things, external stresses, jobs are going to be bringing things. So we got to really make sure that we're keeping ours clean.
Yeah. So we definitely have couples start with the family check-ins.
Love it. And you can find all these resources at Meet the Freemans.
Yep. The guides are on there.
We will put it all down below.
I'll say meetthefreemans.com/links.
Love it.
That's a good page.
Anybody can put that in the show notes.
We'll have everything down below.
I could sit here for another hour.
I know. This is so fun. So easy to talk to you guys.
Thank you for coming, joining the show. It's a pleasure to be connected. I'm excited for what the future holds. This might not be the last conversation.
I hope not.
I hope not too.
I hope not.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for having us.
Yeah.
Thank you.